Common Sense America with Eden Cornell. Yeah.
And good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Common Sense America. I am Eden Hill. Welcome to our last Wednesday in November. It is Wednesday, November the 30th. And I tell you what, we have a very special show. Thank you for all that who join on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Rumble. You guys are the best supporters. Thank you for during the show, sending me your comments, whether they are private or public. Thank you. Thank you so much for being such a huge part of making Common Sense America. And it's going into its fourth month, which will start tomorrow. I can't get over it. Thank you to the Blue Network. Thank you to Barbara from Harlem and BB Reed. Thank you to Craig Syracusa and Christopher Macchio, who are going to be joining us in just a few minutes. Thank you to all of the amazing supporters. Money Talk with Melanie. Thank you, Melanie Collette, for being such a huge support to Common Sense America. And thank you to Young Voices. You guys are all so amazing. You help me bring the truth every morning to talk about the kitchen table issues, the kitchen table discussions that are happening in and around our families, our communities, and in our nation's backyard. You know, I left my opening rant and monologue at a little low today versus what I usually do because we are all focused on the Christmas features and the Christmas season today. But I just have to put it out there. You know, Trump's doing some interesting things. DeSantis is doing some interesting things. And as you watch the mainstream media continue to give a false narrative of what the truth is and what happened in the United States Senate last night, I would encourage you, and I will post the link, go to C-SPAN, which I know is boring, but go to C-SPAN and check out Senator Mike Lee's floor statement about the Marriage Act. So what I'm going to do is, but I will also post it for you. It was featured on the Daily Signal. So I wanted just to kind of give you a heads up on that. But I tell you what, let's focus on Christmas. I have my Christmas outfit on. We are getting ready for the Christmas season, celebrating the birth of our Savior, celebrating the second coming, celebrating his arrival, celebrating what is ahead, our families, our communities, giving back. Yesterday was Giving Tuesday, but you know what? We can give all the time. And so today we're going to focus on the beautiful renovated Opera House, the Emmaus Center in Brooklyn, New York, where my friend Craig Syracusa has been working very much as a TV host for Walk-In Faith. He is an amazing human. He gives back to the community. He is a man of faith, a family man. So we're going to bring him over here to the show. And also Christopher Macchio will be joining us here in a few minutes. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning. I should have worn my Christmas suit. I have a really nice Christmas suit. But,
well, I had to get dressed up today. I get dressed up every day for the show. But since I will not be able to be with you guys on December the 13th, which I wish I could, I had to get, just get in the spirit for the holiday season. I'm so glad to have you. How are you and your family? How was Thanksgiving?
Oh, it was great. We have a new baby in the family. Luke is my sister-in-law, my wife's sister. They weren't able to come because of, fear of catching some sort of COVID or this new variant going around. But we were able to just at least see them prior to Thanksgiving and be with the family. So we're looking forward to Christmas. I've been decorating, and this is my favorite time of the year. Anyone that knows me personally knows how much I get into the Christmas spirit. So I love the season. I love the Christmas season.
Well, you have been such a good friend to my professional career and also to our family. And I remember last year we were talking and we were comparing notes on those who were decorating their homes and decorating for the holiday season. People were getting a head start.
Mm-hmm.
As we were coming out of the COVID pandemic, people were looking for joy, for some kind of peace, for some kind of normalcy, if you will. And I love the fact that we were comparing notes on Jersey compared to North Carolina. My stuff's out November 1st. I know my neighbors do not like me, but that is okay. They know that I am Mrs. Christmas and we're bringing Christmas joy to the holiday season and to our communities and families. So I'm excited. Tell me about what is happening at the beautiful Opera House, the renovations, the Emmaus Center. Talk to me about what's going on and what's coming down the pike, and where can we watch and be participating, and talk to me all about that. I'm so excited.
Yeah, thank you. So the Emmaus Center, which is the original opera house in the New York area, is built in the early mid 1800s and was recently renovated. And we opened last year. We actually opened during COVID, but last year was our first show. It was Matt Maher, which was our
Yes.
first concert, which was great. But then there was this new variant, and we had new protocols in place. But now we're fully open and functioning, and we have an amazing concert coming up on the 13th of December with Chris Macchio and some of his friends.
Yes.
It's going to be really an amazing show with so many legendary performers. And then the next day we have another show with the Connolly sisters, and Chris Macchio is also going to be performing. And
Fabulous.
we have, between now and then, we have so many candlelight concerts, Charlie Brown Christmas. And we have so many events between now and right before, I'd say, the 20th of December. And then January 5th, 6th, we start again with the Winter Jazz Festival, which is huge for us. We have more candlelight shows. I mean, we've been blessed. I mean, we get a lot of calls, and we're really there to bring people to the space, to evangelize, to really ignite that community through the arts, through music, through different events. We have events coming up and conferences, but the message is to bring people to Christ through the arts. And that's why that's the mission of the space. Some of the events are more gauged towards community outreach because unfortunately some people aren't ready to enter a church, or maybe they feel uncomfortable, or they have issues just going to church. So we try to bring them in through music, entertainment. And then we all pray that the Holy Spirit speaks to them in some way. And they start to question, why did I stop going to church? Or, why do I have issues with the church? And that brings them back to church. And that's why we host these events at this space, is really to bring people to Christ.
No, I absolutely love that. I mean, this show is all about faith. It's all about conservative politics, but it's also about faith, and they also intertwine. And I think people sometimes separate those lines. And having been in politics, but as a public servant, my faith has been at the very forefront. And we need to really talk about our faith, whether it's in the arts or whether it's in our industry. I know Tim Keller, a famous pastor from New York, always talks about faith in the public square and how we can impact our communities and our backyards through our vocations. Let me ask you this. Talk to me about the event on December the 13th. I'm going to put this up here, Futures in Education. I was looking at their amazing website. Talk to me about this concert. Is it fully benefiting this organization? Talk to me about the organization.
Yeah, so Monsignor Jamie Gigantiello, who is the vicar of the Emmaus Center, as well as Futures in Education, the FDNY chaplain, I mean, his resume is huge, the amount of work that he takes on. But Futures in Education gives Catholic education to anyone that's interested in attending a Catholic school that makes, below a certain amount of money. And they have people that would sponsor them. They're called angels. And the concert will support that and give scholarships to kids that want to attend a Catholic school throughout the Diocese of Brooklyn. It's a wonderful organization. I mean, I've been a part of some of their events, and to see the kids and the impact that these angels make, it's so inspiring to hear their stories. There's one story that sticks out, and I didn't realize this till I had a young son. And I'll tell you, when he goes to Catholic school, St. Leo's in Lincroft, and I'm excited when they take the money out of my account. And this woman, I'll never forget, when I was doing a story, she lived in a car, and just so she could send her son to Catholic school. And I didn't understand that until I had a young child. And now to see the way some of the public school systems and the way they indoctrinate our children, I understand why it's so important to give them a Catholic or a Christian education, an education based around the principles of Jesus Christ, that I would do anything to send my son to a school that teaches the principles of Christ. I mean, so I understand that. So to see and be a part of Futures in Education and how important the impact they make on these kids. I mean, the statistics are outstanding to see that they graduate from college, they go on to higher education and the jobs and the careers that they get. But the impact that they make throughout the community and society is just, so to be a part of that and to help them, this concert is way more than just, entertaining people. It's more about showing people the importance of Catholic education, futures in education, and just, what it means to be an angel to really help and support some of these kids and families.
Well, that's a perfect segue into the fact that yesterday was Giving Tuesday. But as I've been saying to my audience and my viewers, that Giving Tuesday isn't just one day, it's throughout the whole year. And I also see that Christopher Macchio just joined us, so I'm going to bring him over to the stream. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the party. I was hoping you were going to join.
Absolutely. I just got mixed up with some of the links, but I figured it out.
That's my fault. I did something yesterday and I said to my husband, oh, shoot, I put the wrong date. I have got to go set this up. I'll be right back. And he was like, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? I'm like, just let me get my space back here. So I apologize.
Of course.
I'm so glad
worries
that
at all.
you are here. I'm so glad that you're here. Merry Christmas. Welcome to our Christmas party. Since I can't be with you for the event in Brooklyn, I decided to get all ready for the Christmas, and we're having our own little Christmas party.
Yeah, you've got that place decked out. That's great.
Yeah, Craig is very aware that I start decorating and everything goes up November 1st.
Oh, wow.
Those.
Before Thanksgiving. Okay,
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's how they do it in Europe. I was over in Paris, on Halloween, and the very next day, All Saints Day, that's when they start putting up all of the Christmas decorations.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I said to Craig earlier, we had talked about this about a year or so ago. It was coming out of COVID and people were just looking for something normal, peace, hope, joy. And I said, you know what, let's just break it out. And I'm just going to make the new tradition and just start doing it earlier.
Oh, that's great.
And that's the thing we minister to our community, our neighborhood. This weekend, we're doing Lights of Love for our local hospice, which involves our local high school students, and our whole neighborhood decks out. People drive through. It's a drive-through Christmas light celebration. And so, that's something very important here at the local level. But when I see what you guys are doing, we were just talking about this amazing concert on the December 13th. And I was just about to ask Craig about the performers. Can you talk to me about some of the performers that are going to be there to benefit these amazing kids?
So I really wanted to have a cross section of performers that really would have a wide appeal for different ages, different demographics. And so Craig and I put our heads together and we came up with a wonderful list of people. We've got for the older generation, we've got Al Jardine, who is one of the original founding members of the Beach Boys. So he's going to be doing some Christmas songs. And then for the people that are closer to he and I's age, we've got Peebo Bryson, who won the Grammy Awards for A Whole New World from Aladdin and for Beauty and the Beast. Back when Disney actually made children-friendly content.
Yes,
and,
yes. We can go on that one too if you want. I'll rant all day long on that one.
Back in the day when things were innocent, like when I was growing up, and then for the younger folks, we've got Haley Reinhardt, who was the finalist in for American Idol, and she's got a huge following. So we've got a nice cross section of demographics, and then I've got the privilege of performing duets with all of these groups and kind of tying the whole program together with like a classical crossover, Andrea Bocelli type of vibe for what I'm doing. So all in all, it's going to be the biggest, best show that the Diocese of Brooklyn and Queens has ever pulled off. And of course, it couldn't happen without the work of people like Craig, Monsignor Jamie Gigantiello, Monsignor Casada, and a bunch of other people, Futures in Education, just a bunch of other people that really have been working around the clock to make this thing a tremendous success.
Well, let me ask you this. So since I cannot make it up, is it going to be live streamed, or is there a way people can watch it after it has taken place?
I'm not sure.
Well, we're working on that now.
We might give you a private link because we don't want any free riders on the screen.
Yeah, we're working on that right now. We're trying to work out the kinks.
At the end of the day, we do need to raise money, and the whole purpose of this, of course, at the end is also to bring people to Christ. We
Yes.
are, the diocese does like to promote the slogan, keep Christ in Christmas. And I think
Amen to
that's a
that.
really important ethos to be adhered to. So we are trying to reach out to the community. So there may be a way that certain folks that just absolutely cannot, come in, attend the show in person will be able to participate. But ultimately, we want to draw people physically into the building and create a space that people can experience the arts, especially the refined, performing arts,
Right.
in a way that resonates, and consistently with Christian and Catholic values,
Right.
and allows them the forum and the opportunity to rediscover their religious roots and to embrace Christ more fully into their lives.
Yeah, amen to that. I've had friends from Jersey and then friends from down here who were transplanted to North Carolina said to me yesterday, one in particular who's from Jersey and who's headed back to Jersey today. She called me and she's like, "Where are you getting all of these amazing guests for your show?" She said, "We watch it daily and we absolutely love it." I said, "It's because of people like you." I said, "I have such amazing friends and family who are of faith in New York and New Jersey from my years being in New York and my time growing up in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, and also to DC. I will not, discredit DC and working for Trump. But the reason why I say that is because those who have followed this show going on now 4 months, and I'm grateful for your support, their foundation is Christ. And they know that that's where I stand at the very forefront. So I will preach the gospel. And I will tell you that Facebook, as soon as we started talking about that, they put a halt on the show right now. And so, it comes down to what I'm going to go a little political for a second, what DeSantis said yesterday. And that is, I don't know if you heard his amazing speech. I wish he was our president. No offense to Trump. Love my boss. Love my old boss. But, but DeSantis.
Listen, Al, either way, he's going to have his turn either way. And I think we're going to be all in for a nice treat whenever that does happen.
Maybe that'll be our new Christmas present for the next couple of years, But there was something, to my point, though, DeSantis mentioned something yesterday about the censorship, and I'm seeing it right now happen. As we talk about our faith, as we talk about our beloved children, as we are talking about protecting them from what is happening in our culture, as we are talking about protecting the sanctity of life, all of those things that are so important to our faith from the Catholic and Christian aspects, we are continuing to be censored. And that's why I love bringing people like you guys to the show, because we are activating that. We are still raising that flag. We are engaging in the public square and standing up for our faith. And that means so much to me more than anything. And as I'm doing I did an earlier rant, and Craig heard it for a hot second, because the Marriage Act went through the Senate last night. Yeah, I saw your eyes roll. And Senator Mike Lee, if you guys have a chance, go and check out his speech on the Senate floor. Yes, it was on C-SPAN. Yes, it can go long, but there were some very fine points in there as to what is going to happen.
He's a great guy.
Yes, he's
a great guy. I actually met him at Mar-a-Lago.
Oh, you did?
A couple of months ago. Yeah. And he was, talking about his book, and he's great. He's great. And it's really crazy. I hope, by the way, you encourage all your listeners to get rid of their Balenciaga. Okay.
Well,
because I don't know if you heard about that fashion house.
I did hear about it.
With the so I think people need to stand up and really just object, forcefully to this kind of kind of thing. It's just it's so upside down against our values.
It is.
But I'm glad that he stepped up and at least put that amendment forth, even though there were some rhinos who allowed this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. One of them was my senator from North Carolina. I have no idea what he actually does in the office, Tom Tillis. And then two combat veterans I used to work with and work for, Senator Joni Ernst and Todd Young. And Iowa, Indiana, obviously, when they went back home for Thanksgiving, it did not connect the dots, how it was going to be affecting their constituents.
Right.
So, but anyway, This is Christmas features. We'll go back to talking Christmas. Because I love what you guys are doing at the Emmaus Center. So let's talk more about that. So before you came over, Chris, we were talking about Futures in Education, and I was looking at the website, and I noticed that other events you have done in the past really have focused on Futures in Education. Talk to me about, is there a personal story for you with this organization? How did they come to be in your space, and what has really impacted you? Craig had shared earlier about some of the personal stories that really impacted him.
Well, I did not have the privilege of attending Catholic school myself. And I can say that just kind of, being the product of a more secular education, you kind of get a sense that something is missing. And the schools are actually, for the last, let's say, 80, 100 years, have been ground zero for, whatever word you want to use, brainwashing, or the kind of undermining some of the cohesion, some of the cultural values that have formed the bedrock of not only United States and American culture, but Western civilization itself. And whether one is a conspiracy theorist and it's whether it's more purposeful or whether it's just by accident or happenstance, the fact is that these kinds of religious education, the kind of Catholic education that is provided by the diocese in New York and in Brooklyn and Queens, it's essential to buttress and burnish those religious, those sacred values in the student body. And I was asked years ago to come in and start, performing for various events and just kind of add a little something to these events. Sometimes they end up, a couple of months ago, I think 6 weeks ago, we were at Cipriani. We raised $2.5 million that night, just with one dinner. And that money all goes to support, the underprivileged being able to attend and benefit from this kind of education, and that community in particular, even more than some others, because sometimes there's a concept in education pedagogy, they call it in loco parentis, where during the day the teacher is actually a surrogate parent. And during that period of the day, they're responsible for inculcating and imbuing the right values into the students. And we feel that having a Catholic education is an important part of a child's day, and being imbued with those values that we all hold so sacred, so near and dear to our hearts.
Well, I had looked at their website, Futures in Education. I have it going across the screen. And, one of the testimonies, I want to read this really quickly to you if I can go back and find it. But it really talked about, actually, here it is. It is talking about the fact that a family was immediately the father was diagnosed with cancer. And the mother really wanted to make sure that their child had the best education possible. And it was because of the Angel program with the Futures in Education that made it happen for them. So after you guys depart, I will definitely be posting that YouTube clip that they have up there on the front page to share with my audience. I'll share it all over the place, because that there's something very special to what they are doing. Yesterday, I had on somebody who was local to the Eastern North Carolina area, and they were doing an angel adoption for children as well. And they said the numbers are higher than last year. And so I wonder, as we are heading into this holiday season and into the 2023 projected budgets and what's ahead, I wonder if Futures in Education are needing it even more, with what is happening financially to our homes, our kitchen tables, what is happening to, can we even afford to put food on the table for these kids? So I want to make sure that we expose and share this as much as possible within our social networks. Where can we, with Giving Tuesday being yesterday, and like I said, I'm doing Giving Tuesday throughout the whole rest of the month. where can we and the audience get more involved to help with the Emmaus Center as you, Craig, are bringing more and more to the forefront? Your candlelight services, your Christian concerts. I know you had Matt Mayer. What can we get involved to help serve you and what you are doing? What are some ways to get involved?
So we are a not-for-profit. Monsignor Jamie and I and Chris we've been really trying to build this up, and it's emmausbrooklyn.org is where
Mhm.
people can get more involved.
Mhm.
And all the money that comes in goes right back to the community,
Mhm.
whether it's through donations that we also donate to other not-for-profits, or we host events. We had a men's conference, we
Mhm.
had a couple of heritage nights. We're actually working on a big conference coming up with Dr. Scott Hahn. So
Okay.
all of the money that comes in goes right out.
Mhm.
There's no profit. There's
Mhm.
no money in the bank. Whatever comes in goes out. So you can get involved through emmausbrooklyn.org. For
Okay.
Future in Education, you can always log on to their website, and you could also become an angel or make a donation. Chris and I also support Futures in Education.
Okay.
When I think about, to your point about myself or just parents that are struggling between putting food on the table or
Mhm.
paying that bill
Mhm.
for the Catholic education. And Monsignor Casado is a dear friend of Chris and I's. He said, anyone that ever calls him and says, I need help in terms of getting their son or daughter into Catholic school, he finds a way. And they
Mhm.
do. They find a way. They don't turn anyone away. And it is very challenging in the New York area, especially to
Yeah.
continue to support the
Yeah.
schools because it is very expensive.
Mhm.
Or, just running the Opera House, I know personally how expensive it is and how the bills keep piling up. But we're there for the mission, and we know that God will provide. So we just keep moving forward and following what God has placed in our heart. So, but I would love for people to support us because it is challenging. I can tell you that personally.
Let me ask you this. Is it all privately funded, the Emmaus Center, or is there any kind of government funding at all?
As of now, we don't get any government funding. We
Okay.
get private donors,
Okay.
rentals. But I'll tell you, that is one of the most stressful things. And Chris and I told him the other day, I don't share it with many people, but that
Mhm.
is one of the most stressful thing I would say is the calls. But what I do is I think about it all the time and the way, and in terms of being successful, let's just use that word so the people of the secular world understands. In order to be successful, you have to endure stress and
Yeah.
anxiety. And
Yeah.
I know that the more stress and anxiety that I endure, the further along I'm going to get. So when God gets me to the next stage in my life or career or within the Emmaus Center, I'll be able to endure the additional stress and anxiety. So I'm able to deal with that. But it is
Mhm.
very stressful when
Yeah.
contractors call. You can't pray away the bills.
No.
I can't tell American Express, we're a not-for-profit, they still want to be paid. So
Right.
we need the support. We need the help from donors and people in the community to see that what we're doing is really bringing people to Christ in a neighborhood and a community that really needs it. They
Mhm.
need Jesus in that community more than any other community I've ever been in.
Yeah.
Williamsburg needs Jesus.
Yeah. Well, what I'm going to be doing is the next segment after you guys depart is Marcy Friesner, who I'm sending up your way to New York. She's an educator, a speaker, she's a pastor, and she's a director of a learning pod, homeschooling learning pod, and she's also an author of His Child. And she's taking her 3 kids and they're going up to New York and they're going to serve at the Bowery Mission. And they also want to meet with you and come
Yes.
over to Brooklyn and serve where they can. So that's what I'm doing on this end. I'm going to get as many people up there, and I have been setting up my clients and friends who are coming to New York. We're going to put them in your direction for, whether it's them serving, whether it's them supporting, whatever, but we're going to get people in your direction similar to the Bowery Mission.
I appreciate it.
I've actually been collecting clothes for the Bowery Mission and shipping them up there. Are there ways is there anything specific that I can put a note out to people saying I'm collecting and I'm shipping? Is there anything that we can send your way? Is there anything that you guys need?
In terms of the space, no. It's just like 2 or 3 people that work there, including myself and when Chris volunteers. So we really, it's contributions, financial contributions that allows us to continue to stay open and pay the bills.
Okay.
Any sort of contributions, it's all tax deductible, is
Okay.
really what we need, or
Mhm.
anyone that's willing to support us or host an event there.
Okay.
Um, that's really that's what we need. And I know we're doing the right thing. It's something my convictions wake me up. I know what's in our heart, Chris's heart, Monsignor Jamie's heart, and I always quote, a friend of mine, never compromise. A simple quote, but I won't compromise our values. I won't give in. even when the enemy tells me, you should do something else, or there's never going to work out, we continue to move forward. And I just take it day by day. But we do need support financially in order to host these events that help bring people to Christ and evangelize.
Yeah, most definitely. And then, Chris, a question, two final questions to you. And then, Craig, I know you guys need to get going. I love your song, Oh Holy Night. I was listening into it this morning on your website, and I posted that on the social media channels. Will you be performing that with any of the performers on December 13th?
Well, I will be performing that, but as a solo piece.
As a solo piece.
And I've got a couple of duets in mind with the various people. And then we actually have it's a surprise, so I can't reveal what it is, but
I don't even know what it is. Well,
you don't?
No. He doesn't. Craig likes to talk. So I said, you know what? Let me keep it a secret until that day. But it's going to be a really great number as a finale. Craig said, why are we renting 30 different microphones? I said, because everybody is going to be on stage at the same time. And singing wonderful.
Isn't that song worth the amount of money that it costs to rent the mic? If he would have told me
He's like, can't you guys share microphones? I said, no, everybody, because we're going to have it be as big and as strong and as powerful a message as we can send to finally, at the end of the concert. So it's going to be really beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
So we're looking forward to this.
I cannot wait to hear about that. And I cannot wait to get my private stream if you guys have one for me. Thank you. And then a final question for you, Chris, as we end this segment. Were you at Mar-a-Lago when he announced?
No. For this announcement, I've been running around all over the country. I actually was still in France.
Okay.
When he made that announcement, but I'm very excited to see what lies ahead, and I think we've got people in as you mentioned earlier, we've got people in the pipeline. So I think we're pretty much set for the next 12 years or so, as far as that, the next 14 years. So we're good. So I'm happy about that. I do want everybody, of course, to follow us on social media, on Instagram in particular.
Oh, yes.
The Emmaus Center, EMMAUS Center for the space, and then Chris Macchio for myself. It's very important. This is what people look at when they want to decide if they want to do something at the Emmaus Center. It's all about the social media these days. So we're pushing that.
I will retweet this out, and I will also repost it on Instagram and tag you guys and everything.
At least you're less likely to be suppressed on Twitter these days. I mean, that's a blessing.
I know. Thanks be to God for Elon Musk.
I find it difficult whenever I do my daily devotionals, yesterday especially, just getting it on, uploading it took almost a day to get a 3.5 minute reflection on Christ. If I post other things in a second, but you don't know how many times and whenever I try to boost anything that has to do with Christ, they deny it. I mean, I know. It's unbelievable. But I just want to thank Chris Macchio. Chris Macchio, we know each other a long time. And as he's grown in his career, you can see his background. It looks like he's in some giant hotel room. But he's been beyond a friend. He's always there for the diocese, always there for me, comes to events with me, even though when we're supposed to meet with someone, they don't show up. But I want to thank him for supporting the diocese, supporting Christ, supporting the mission. And I appreciate that, Chris.
And thank you, Craig, for all that you've been doing. It takes, for both he and I, it does take a measure of sacrifice for us, all three of us, really, to do what we can to follow Christ and to to further these kinds of missions. There are always easier paths, but as Craig alluded to, compromises in these areas cannot be made.
No,
we need to push forth with our values. 100%, no compromise.
Yeah. Most definitely. And on that final note, you guys were phenomenal. I'm grateful for, Craig, your friendship. Thank you for being such a support to my career and this show. Thank you for being a support to my run. Thank you for everything. And then Chris, welcome to the team. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
For being a new friend. Many blessings to you guys. I'll be praying for you guys. And I look forward to hearing updates and seeing images and really pushing you guys out on the social channels. So have a wonderful Christmas. Christmas, you guys. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. God bless.
Looking forward. Merry Christmas.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And for all of those who are tuning in, this is Common Sense America. I am Eden Hill. Thank you for joining us on this Christmas Features Day. It is Wednesday. It is November the 30th. We're going to take a quick break. And then next up, we're going to be talking more about the holiday season and mental health. We're going to be bringing over to the show educator, author, speaker, minister, and director of the Salt and Light Academy in Eastern North Carolina, Marcy Friesner. This is a pre-recorded interview, so we will be bringing it over to you in just a few minutes. We will be right back. She is the co-author of His Child. She is the director of Salt and Light Academy in Swansboro, North Carolina. Marcy, thank you so much for joining Common Sense America. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for the invitation, Eden. I appreciate it.
Well, first and foremost, I know that with the holiday season right in front of us, it can be joyous, but then it can also be very hard. And one thing that I absolutely love about your book, His Child, on the lighter side, it's a great stuffer. On more of the intense side, it also can comfort those who may go through mental health issues already, but the holiday season can tend to bring up other flare-ups and triggers. Yeah. So as we are talking today, I wanted to first talk about your book, His Child. And second, then I want to talk about you being an educator in Eastern North Carolina and the triggers you are seeing as we head into the holiday season, the triggers you're seeing in your teens and your community as we seek to comfort those who may have some type of mental health issue trigger as we head into this holiday season, and how can we be more aware? Yeah. And how can we be more of a comfort to those, and what are resources that we can do? So all of that said, let's first and foremost talk about His Child, this amazing 40-day devotional that you have co-authored with S.A. Moore, and that is available on Amazon, on Target, and all of your bookstores, if you will. Let's talk about that first.
Yeah, thanks. Well, it's crazy that it's been over a year since we self-published, but S.A. and I have known each other as missionaries. We met a few years ago, really just in the community doing work. And then he had this vision for the devotional and asked me to come alongside and cooperate with the vision. He really didn't know what I could do or not do as far as writing is concerned, and didn't know that it was really on my heart to write anyway. So really, truthfully, Holy Spirit wrote the devotional. Each day is a breath prayer. It's something you can pray in a short breath, something that we hope you'll carry with you throughout the day and continue to pray. And as you said, we are from two different walks of life, if you will. Is story contains a lot of recovery and turmoil and tragedy and definite mental health struggle. Mine dabbles with a little bit here and there, and I'm more of a family member affected than having walked through that personally myself. So he calls us the sinner and the saint, and together it allows the book to be something I think that appeals to both the sinner and the saint. I think, really anybody can pick it up and enjoy reading the day's devotions. And it doesn't matter if you have an addiction story, a mental health recovery story or not.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about this. I personally, one thing that really drew me into the book when I first heard about you and first heard about the book, and then I started reading the devotional, I noticed that it talked about veterans. And I want to talk about veterans for just a hot second. And I wasn't sure why, it mentioned veterans, because being a veteran spouse and being in a veteran community, as we are here in Eastern North Carolina, it triggered something for me. Could this be for veterans? And having just finished Veterans Day, but then also knowing, as we talk about mental health, knowing that 22 suicides a day approximately happen to veterans. Right. So I wanted to ask you about that veteran slant, that veteran angle, to see where that came from.
Yeah, so SA served in the Navy, and I was the spouse of a Marine Corps Scout sniper for 15 years. And so we have a lot of deployments under our belt, a lot of hardship with PTSD and several other things for our family as a whole. Mm-hmm. So we both have those experiences, one as a family member, one as an active duty veteran. And it really hurts my heart to think about the number 22, because it's not a number. It's 22 real people who are really struggling through something that could be prevented. Because let's be honest, we can help, but we're not always educated in how we can help and what we can look for and where we can go. So I think it's great that you are willing to tackle this issue. I think it's great that there are other people that are aware and are willing to bring awareness to the general public, because it's something that's not foreign to anyone. There won't be a listener that can say they've been untouched by suicide in some way or another.
Right. Well, I have here, and I'm sharing on the screen for our audience to see some of the book chapters and the cover of the book, which is absolutely beautifully done. I love the imagery of it's Christ holding out for us. I absolutely love it. It's absolutely amazing. So talk to me a little bit about some of your different chapters. Some of them really speak to me, and just the titles of them. But breathe in faith, breathe out doubt. Give me ears to hear your voice, oh God. My holiness is not an option. Jesus, show me your way. Seeing that one and saying, Jesus, showing me your way, that's a cry out. I probably pray every morning. Jesus, show me your way. Show me your way. May I not lean on my own understanding. Guide my path, guide my life, and may I trust in you. So talk to me about a couple of the chapters in here. And as we are talking, the audience here is faith. It is women in leadership. It is women who are moms, who are 9-to-5 moms or 9-to-6 moms. There's such a huge audience here, and also of veterans. What do you think? What really impacted you as you were co-authoring this book with him?
So one of the things I would mention is that as we grow in our faith, and as these breath prayers are, we learn to pray with God instead of praying to God. Mm-hmm. So if you pray to God, you give him this list of things that's going on in your life, and you may or may not listen to what he has to say. When you pray with God, you've all of a sudden opened yourself up to listening to what he's trying to say to you. And you're also opening yourself to just what you said. Instead of going about it my way and asking him to bless me, I go about it his way, and then the blessing overtakes me. I absolutely can't escape it. One of my favorites is the Jesus, 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 which ends up in there twice. And I'll share that one because we wrote the breath prayers down, and then some of them we wrote together, some of them we each took. And the Jesus one's essay says, oh, that so speaks to me, I got to write to that. And I read his devotion, and it was, Jesus, calm, take a breath, think about it, Jesus. And when I think about it, I'm over here going, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Like, I'm in a crisis and I need you right now. So it appeared twice because we both had a different perspective on just calling out the name of Jesus and what did that mean for us.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see the titles, help me with my people, places, and things. That's very common in the recovery world. But for all of us to gain that upper hand and to get out of the stronghold, we often have to set boundaries and remove certain people from our lives, distance ourselves from people. We have to get out of certain places. And we also have to stop thinking about certain things and doing certain things. So that's another one. Those three, each day a different title, are very instrumental in helping us to gain some freedom from our own toxicity and to step forward into the goodness that God has for us.
You know what, you mentioned toxicity, and there was something that stood out to me in your press release. And for all those who are tuning in, this is Marcy Friesner. She is the co-author of His Child, and she is the director of Salt and Light Academy in Swansboro, North Carolina. And in your most recent press release that was on the Associated Press Newswires, you talked to mental health and the upcoming holidays. You talk to the thoughts of toxicity. You talk to what you allow and what you don't allow, and how you can control that versus others. Can you break that down? Can you talk to our audience about that powerful statement? It is you that has control over your thought life.
Yeah. Fortunately, I've been sharing this idea that the impossible becomes very possible with God, but it also changes with an apostrophe and a space. So if we envision the I'm and then the space and possible, it changes what seemed impossible to something that's probably quite doable. Henry Ford is credited as saying, whether you think you can or can't, you're right. So it's very true that our thought patterns eventually become our behaviors. And the world is going to dislike you, and the world is going to tell you how much they dislike you. I don't care how beautiful you are. I don't care how all together you have it. I don't care what kind of car you drive and what kind of house you live in. They're out there. And so in order to maintain our sanity, we have to decide what we're going to let rent our headspace, I always say.
Yeah.
And where we put up a sign that says no vacancy. So in order to do that, we have to practice that. And my encouragement would be, one, understanding your identity in Christ, getting into the Word of God. S.A. and I both said from the beginning, if you don't read anything in the devotional except for the scripture passages at the beginning of every chapter, you are miles ahead of so many people. The Word is alive and active, and it does have power. So understanding that you're a masterpiece in the eyes of your Creator. I mean, you think about an artist, when you think about a Van Gogh and it's funny, I thought of Van Gogh because he didn't even get recognized for his art until after he was dead. So he really struggled with mental illness. When you study his biography, that man really struggled. And yet he's one of the most famous painters in the world. So again, if someone had been around to really listen and appreciate him and help him, we could have seen things differently. We have to reach out for help. That's one thing we're not doing. And as friends, as family members, we have to be willing to ask the difficult questions. So it is perfectly okay. I came across some of my son's college work recently, and it said something about his friend group would say he's the most depressed of all of them. Waste any time at all calling his number, getting him on the phone and saying, Caleb, I know you wrote this last semester in college, but what would make your friend group say this? And how can I help you?
Well, let me ask you this. Techniques and triggers. First, let's talk about triggers. what are triggers that we can kind of be aware of in our community, whether it's our neighbor, whether it is a family member who may not be very transparent about things, or it is a family member who is transparent, like you mentioned, your son, things of that nature. Or if it is, like you say, you are an educator, you're the director of Salt and Light, you see triggers in your teens, and we see triggers, I see triggers in veterans. So talk to me about triggers and how we can be more aware of what is going on in and around us, especially during the holiday season. And then the second question is, what is it about the holiday season that increases this mental health epidemic?
Yeah, so I would say first off, with the triggers, the more important thing is not necessarily that someone has been triggered. It's how do we react after that? So if you're a fixer like me, you want to press in, and that can sometimes be the worst thing you do. So rather than press into the thing, what I have noticed works well with everybody is deflection or distraction, if you will. So when I notice that somebody's uncomfortable, instead of pressing in and saying, well, tell me about that, let's get this talked about, I'm going to change the subject for a minute so that I can lighten things up.
Right.
Then when they're in a comfortable position, then I'm going to revisit what I saw. Earlier I saw that I made you uncomfortable. That I language is super important. So instead of I saw that you were uncomfortable, I saw that you were angry. I saw that I did something to change your body language, or I caused a reaction in you.
Okay.
Is it okay if we talk about that? So
Sure.
I would open the conversation very lightly.
Okay.
And that's another real challenge. I can tell you that 9 times out of 10, probably 10 times out of 10, those people want to be heard. They don't need you to have the answer, and they don't need you to fix it. They need to be heard. And think about it. Do we do any listening at all anymore? No, we want to be heard just as loudly as she wants to be heard or he wants to be heard.
Yeah.
So this constant fighting to see who can speak the loudest and be heard the most. So listening is a huge, huge factor in all of this. The best thing we can do is listen. If we're in an uncomfortable spot with somebody and we're concerned about them, invite them over, invite them to have coffee.
Okay.
Create a separate space and a separate time so that now they have something to look forward to.
Okay.
Hope is the answer to all of these. I recently did a suicide prevention course in Morehead City, and the big factor here is hope. The season, the holidays, why is it so challenging? Because people are clinging to false hope. So for instance, how many of these commercials have you seen for the BMW or the Lexus with the great big red bow on it? I don't know too many people who get brand new cars in their driveways as their Christmas gift.
Right.
That's an extreme, but that's what we set. So our children, my children were expecting an iPad or an iPod or whatever at the time, and mom was a single mom working 4 jobs. They were going to be lucky to get socks and underwear.
Yeah.
So I didn't set them up for failure. What I did was I let them know from the get-go.
Yeah.
Mom can't afford Christmas this year. You're going to look for one present under the tree, and if there's one there, I need you to be grateful. But I took it a step further, and I called the local homeless shelter, and we agreed as a family to drive up there first thing Christmas morning and make breakfast for the homeless. So what that did, that completely changed the whole environment. My kids got up that morning and I stayed in bed, not wanting to see them when they faced the reality of one gift under the tree.
Yeah.
But I let that sit for a minute, and I heard their disappointment and I heard their cries. And then I got up like I hadn't heard it. Let's get ready to go. Time to go. We went with Aunt Melanie to the homeless shelter. And my son makes some mean pancakes. So my 14-year-old was on the grill making chocolate chip pancakes, and everybody was raving. And we stayed. We didn't just serve food. We sat down. We engaged in conversation. And so on the drive home, I reminded them that getting up in their bed was a Christmas present.
Yes.
Getting up with warm heat circulating all
Yes.
through the house was another
Yes.
Christmas present.
Yes.
Food in their bellies was a Christmas present. So before we even got to the homeless shelter, they had more Christmas gifts than a lot of those people in the shelter had.
Yes.
So we have to do that ourselves and for one another. So if you are one of those people not looking forward to the holidays, you're not looking forward to Thanksgiving because it's the first Thanksgiving without your husband, it's the first Thanksgiving without your son, I would encourage you to find a new way to do Thanksgiving. Why put yourself in a situation where the reminders are constantly there?
Right.
And I would also encourage you to grieve. Take the time to grieve. Nobody gets to tell you when and where and how you can grieve. And it's a process, it's a long journey. So don't be discouraged by your own grieving. It means you loved well and you loved a lot. So I want to give people permission to be sad and to grieve, but I'm not giving you permission to stay there. That's the lie of the enemy. The enemy wants us to say, I have depression, I have anxiety, I have suicidal thoughts, I'm codependent, I'm an addict. Those are all lies of the enemy that go against our identity in Christ. So again, back to our thought patterns, back to our language. I'm overcoming depression, I'm overcoming anxiety, whatever the case may be.
Well, you stepped on something that I want to tackle, and that's isolation. Isolation is a huge issue, and it became a bigger issue since the pandemic. And people got either comfortable or fell back into anxiety issues or fell back into all the things that you just listed. So let's talk about that. You mentioned let's grab coffee. Let's, find a safe space to be able to sit down and have a light conversation that will then lead to them more opening up. What is it? And you even talked about serving in the homeless shelter on Christmas Day. And you were determined, you could grieve, but you were determined to go and create something new, to remove that isolation technique. But talk to me about isolation. What are ways, you just listed a bunch of ways where we can kind of reach out and get outside of that zone. But it seems to me that isolation is such a natural thing for people, especially if they're not extroverts. If they're introverts, they're going to just fall right into being a hermit instantly. And to really force themselves out of that is really hard. So talk to me a little bit about the isolation piece. I know it's a part of breaking down that mental health issue, and with your toolkit of connecting, serving, getting coffee, going outside of a different zone just to find that safe space. But talk to me about isolation.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that you and I have talked about is your mental health walks. And I talk to people about self-care versus selfishness. So something as simple as getting out and taking a walk. The little things, the more you do them, the easier they become. So again, we are buying a lie that it would be better to just stay inside and stay under the covers and stay behind the television. There is a Christian artist, Mandisa, who tells her story everywhere. She talks about how she entered a crisis situation, grieved very heavily, got into her feelings, and in like a year's time or 2 years' time, gained 200 pounds. This is her testimony. She shares it with the world. The danger there was the beginning of the isolation. So how do we help people? You have to, I hate to say it like this, but you have to make them uncomfortable at times. You have to be that friend who texts them, and then when you don't get the response back, you call them, and when you don't get the response back, you knock on the door. Look, I'm just going to show up on your door. I'm not going to let you stay. So you show up at the door with some Ben and Jerry's in your bunny slippers, and you're like, look, I'm just as real as you are.
I love it. I love it.
And that's another thing we have to do. We have to put our guard down, and we have to be transparent with people. And we're afraid to do that today.
Yeah.
So
why are we so afraid? Why are we so afraid? Is it because of the social media comparison?
Absolutely. Yeah. And look at our commercials, our television ads, trying to move up the ladder in our job situations.
Right.
We talk, you're not supposed to avoid cliches, right? Keeping up with the Joneses. I mean, we need to look good in the neighborhood. We need to
And for all of those who are tuning in, we just have about 2 minutes left here at Common Sense America. Thank you for joining us today. It has been a very special Christmas feature holiday show, and I'm so grateful to each and every one of you who have been tuning in. I do want to let you know we will continue to share more of Marcy's story. There's about 15 minutes left of that long segment, and it was just filled with power-packed and faith, wisdom, discernment, love, compassion for those who are struggling through the mental health issues, but also struggling through the holiday season. And whether it is just a short term and or if it is a long term, Marcy, I would love for you to check out Marcy Friesner. She's at Salt and Light Academy in Eastern North Carolina, Swansboro, North Carolina. And her book is called His Child. And I have it right here. Excuse me as I'm leaning. I have her book right here, and I would love for you to go and check it out. Go to Amazon.com to check it out. It doesn't look very good on there on the screen with the thing, but anyway, it's called His Child. It's by Marcy Friesner and S.A. Moore, and it's on Amazon. It's in a lot of your bookstores. I think Target is also carrying it. But as we end the segment today, thank you so much for all that tuned in. We do apologize. There was an issue with Facebook, and it started in the first 3 minutes, and then it stopped airing our show. And so we apologize for that hiccup. If you were watching on Facebook, we will be sharing the show on all the social channels, especially supporting the Emmaus Center in Brooklyn, New York, supporting Futures in Education and the children in the Catholic schools in Brooklyn and Queens, and adopting those angels out there, whether it is adopting angels through Project Christmas Cheer in Carter County, or if it is adopting those angels for the futureseducation.org kids who would love to go to school in Brooklyn and in Queens. So make sure you check out my Twitter, Instagram, Rumble, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook accounts. You will find all the links to all of these amazing organizations where you can give back. Hashtag Giving Tuesday, but you know what? Let's continue to hashtag giving back altogether. So on that note, tomorrow, the Bowery Mission's James Macklin will tell us his amazing story of faith and hope for the holiday season. And also, we will be bringing another new face to the show, focusing on women and issues that have happened in and around abuse and domestic abuse. There's an amazing organization out there that will be talking about giving back and supporting women through their journeys. So we have a powerful faith segments tomorrow. Kitchen table topics. Yes, we are all about kitchen table topics. We're all about the truth here at Common Sense America, but more importantly, we're about our faith, giving back to the community, and raising the flag of truth and awareness. So I will let you go. Be strong, be courageous, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great Wednesday.